Good morning, guys, and welcome back to Dusting Off Warlord, Saga of the Storm, featuring Raylor Magicbane. Yes, the Northric streak has been broken. This, I think, from a design and conceptual standpoint, this is one of the most interesting and unique warlords in the game. I think there are some things that literally nobody else but this guy can do, just because of the way he works. So, Magicbane is a 5th level good rogue. He is Free Kingdoms. He is a bard, and he has magic resistance +5. When your last name is Magicbane, you have to have magic resistance. So, Raylor may play wizard spells up to 2nd level. If Raylor is your warlord, your critical failures are considered critical successes, and all of your other Free Kingdoms characters have +4 skill. There is a lot going on with this guy. So the wizard spell, it's pretty nice, and you can build around that. I don't think in this one I'm really doing anything with that. Your other Free Kingdoms characters having +4 skill can also be really, really nice, especially as far as them using feats. But really the reason you're playing this guy is your critical failures are considered critical successes. Fascinating ability, okay? So what this does is, if your bonuses are high enough that you can't miss unless you roll a 1, you auto-succeed on whatever you're doing. That's one of them. 2, most things cannot change critical failures or critical successes. Like, once you've rolled that, generally speaking, unless a card very specifically says it can change those, they're set at that. So, yeah, I think most of the decks that people, at least the ones that I've seen, that involve Raylor Magicbane, they're using a character called Shadow. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. So, Shadow is a evil mercenary, cleric seer, with the ability Spend Order, target an opposing warlord. The next die roll the target's controller makes this turn is a critical failure. Your next die roll is a critical failure. So when you combine this with Magicbane, it's doing 2 things. 1, the next time they roll dice, they auto-fail. So that's 1, and that's a pretty good effect right there. This normally would affect you too, but because Magicbane says your failures are critical successes, this means their next die roll, they auto-fail. Your next die roll, you auto-succeed. Very, very strong ability. So, but in addition to Shadow, the other card, and I don't really see, I mean, not that I have a huge amount of experience playing against a wider play group, but the other card that is very, very fascinating with Raylor Magicbane is Sir James Reed, who I think these guys may have come out of the same set. Eye of the Storm? Yeah, these must came out of Eye of the Storm. I think Eye of the Storm was the critical set for critical failing and succeeding, whatever. So Sir James Reed is a 3rd level fighter. He's a paladin. He's got stats that are, I mean, maybe slightly good for a 3rd level, Free Kingdoms fighter. He has repost, which is good. And again, his repost total bonus is +7, but because it's Raylor, he's going to go up to +11. But because it's Raylor, if you roll a 1, you still succeed. So his odds of making the repost check are actually pretty good. But Sir James Reed has this extremely interesting text. Melee and range strikes targeting and targeted by Sir James Reed are critical failures on a natural roll of 10 or less. Sir James Reed's melee strikes that hit are considered a critical success. So what this means is when Sir James Reed is punching you, if he rolls a 10 or less with Magicbane, he auto-succeeds. That's half of the dice right there. It may be slightly more, slightly less than half of the available, whatever. So half the time, give or take, he is going to hit you even if he would miss you, and it doesn't matter what your armor class is, it doesn't matter if you're planar, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters except him rolling a 10 or less. And then that also includes when they're attacking him. So again, it could be Zod with all the toys. If Zod is rolling a 10 or less, he fails. Like, it doesn't matter how high his attack stat gets. Sir James Reed just says, sorry, it doesn't work on me. So pretty much the point of this deck is to be abusing these 2 things. Shadow works for everybody as far as she can generally affect any dice rolls that are happening. Sir James's ability is really focused on himself, but the goal is going to be to get Sir James up and get him to start swinging and just hope that... Well, let me backtrack a little bit. In addition to him rolling, hitting when he rolls 10s or less, he also just can hit you by virtue of the fact that he hits you. So, and if he hits you, his strikes are critical successes. That is also important. So going for the starters here, we've got a copy of Bakbone Bala and a copy of Darso the Mad in rank 2. Historically speaking, most of my freak decks where I want to get something, whether it's the Warlord or a different character or characters, up to the first rank, this is either double Bakbo or Bakbo and Borg and Ferris. We're not doing that because I'm so strapped for space in here, and it really, I want to say the number is like 4 or 5. If you don't have at least 4 or 5 steeds in your deck, it feels like Borgin is not super consistent. So, yeah, I believe I've run as few as... Actually, I think there was one deck I had where I was only running 1 or 2 steeds. But, yeah, Darso also, because this deck, it can kind of take it a second to get going. Darso can, not all the time, but there are times where Darso can kind of... He can kind of hard stop certain things. Like, if you're under attack by a bunch of people who have low skill, even without any extra cards to debuff their skill, Darso can he can sometimes slow them down, which is great when it happens. And then as far as other starters go for the level 1s, we've got a copy of Ada in between 2 copies of Kyla Smith. So Kyla Smith, while she's in a rank with a cleric, she can spend and do a +2 range strike that doesn't inflict wounds. If she hits with this, it moves whatever she shot at forward 1 rank, and then after the range strike, she can perform a melee strike. Now, there's a lot going on with this. The range strike does not have to target opposing characters. You can use this as a form of pseudo movement on your own guys. Your guys have to be in rank 3 for it to work, but in addition, the melee strike she gets also doesn't have to target the character that she shot at. So, you know, your first action could be I shoot one of my guys in rank 3, it moved him forward, and then I'm gonna, just like I was normally attacking, I'm gonna punch one of the people in the opposing forward formation. So, Ada got nerfed in 4th edition. Oh good lord, I really hope, I haven't looked at too many spoilers for the upcoming re-release of the game. I really hope they stop doing this, okay? If it's too good to be in the format, don't bring it back. Don't MRP it, don't, unless you're gonna flat out buff it like what they did with Logan. Yeah, I hate that. So, characters adjacent to Ada get +2 skill, and then if you have at least 1 Ada in your discard pile, your freaks get +3 skill. So, combining that with Raylor's other part of his text, his card text, that's a total of a +7 to all your character's skill. Not super relevant here. Again, it does help Sir James Reed make his repost checks, but yeah. Now, for other characters, again, we are going to be really trying to make the most out of Sir James Reed. So we've got 3 copies of Kiris Yassar. This is just a character that basically you remove him from the game and he tacks on an extra strike onto, I think it's someone else in this, an adjacent Free Kingdoms character. Okay, wait a minute. MRP. Yes, okay, adjacent Free Kingdoms character. This just brings Sir James Reed's attacks up from 2 to 3, and then he has a repost. These, I don't think are super amazing in here, but they do work. If I were going to start the Borgans to get steeds, these are probably the first thing to go. Just because the tempo kind of sucks on it, and sometimes, I mean, having to spend an action to do that, it can kind of suck, but, whatever. And then as far as other strikes go, we're running a single copy of Oasis Shrine. This just lets you tack on an extra swing after one of your characters performs an attack. It is important that this doesn't work if they're generating strikes from other things, which is unfortunate, but it's still an extra strike, which is nice. And again, because we're really trying to work with Reed and basically rolling low, any strike is a potential critical with him, which is pretty awesome. I mean, I guess that's true for most things, but because Reed's failure, his ability to critically succeed, the area is so much greater. Yeah, I think it works. And then copy of Sir Thomas of Selenar. This guy just, I don't really think I've ever used him as I'm going to move him forward and try to buff people continually. I usually just remove him from the game almost immediately to get the extra wound on everything, which is kind of nice. Reed, even when I've had him going at his best, he has sometimes struggled because he's generally only doing 1 wound per strike. And so if you're up against something that's really durable, again, not all of your attacks are going to hit. They have a good chance of hitting, but if it's got enough hit points, yeah, it could be bad. And then rounding it out, we've got 3 copies of Rafkin, the dual faction, the first dual faction character I believe that was ever printed all the way back, and I think this was Dominance? I don't know. You can use this to give an Elf or Free Kingdoms fighter a buff to their attack and armor class. If it's a paladin, it's an even bigger buff. This is not super relevant for Reed because he, generally speaking, doesn't really care about the attack buff. And because I'm not really running too many things to buff his armor class, that +5, while it's not bad, like that's a huge bonus, it usually doesn't really matter too much. Really what we're playing this for is spend order, ready target elf or free kingdoms fighter up to 4th level. And again, this doesn't care if he's stunned, which is pretty awesome. So if your movement stuff is not really working because there's not a super huge amount of it, you just stun him forward and then you ready him with the Raffkin and you keep doing it every turn, which is awesome. And then as far as the action stuff goes, so again, we want him to be generating strikes. So we've got 3 copies of Backswing and 3 copies of Facing the Demons. Backswing it's normally this would be something like Bloodthirsty because Backswing is giving you a penalty to your attack for the rest of the turn. The thing is that doesn't really matter for Reed. Like you can give him this penalty and he doesn't really care because again he's hoping to roll 10 or less. So and it's just generating an extra strike. Facing the Demons is kind of similar. This is performing a +0 melee strike, and again, there aren't too many ways I have in here of buffing his attack stat because he doesn't really care about it. But this is a single card that is giving you 2 strikes, and you can do this while you're spent. So I think that's pretty nice. And again, Oasis Shrine can't trigger off of either of these. You can still Oasis Shrine if the Backswing itself was generated by an attack, and so you still can kind of get the strike in that fashion. And again, you can replace these with other stuff. You can play Circle Kick, you can play Bloodthirsty. I'm just doing those. And then again, going along with what Raffkin does, we have some more ready tech. We have 3 copies of By Your Word and 2 copies of Decapitate. I almost wonder if I should be switching the quantity of each of these. Instead of being 3 By Your Words, do 3 Decapitates. These are just ways to ready him. And again, Decapitate readies you after you roll a critical success, which again for Reed it's going to be way, like dramatically more than what you normally get. So those are ways to ready him. As far as some miscellaneous, now this I play Warlord for fun. There's probably way better ways to optimize Raylor, and I don't really care. But we're playing 3 copies of Fumble because there is nothing funnier than Shadow is in play, and they use the ability. This is what seems to happen a lot of the time. To get the critical failure out of the way, they'll spend somebody like who doesn't really matter to do something that doesn't really matter. And Fumble is just a really odd random way of killing somebody, because again, it's usually something small. It's usually something that they don't really care about. It's just like, I need to get rid of the shadow effect before my Warlord starts making attacks. So then Fumble just becomes a kill, and the amount of times this has just randomly like messed formations up has been yeah, there was a time where I was getting so much out of this that I was actually running, I would play this off of, the character performing this would be the Shadows, and I would run Halo of Fire to do 2 wounds with it. Oh, that's some good stuff right there. And because this is a combo deck, and we are trying to get the copies of Sir James Reed as soon as possible, we got a couple meat at the ends, but we're also running 3 copies of Bardic Knowledge. This card with Raylor Magicbane can potentially be like one of the best forms of card retrieval like in the game. Only bards can play this. You choose a number, and you have to see with the skill check DC 10 plus the chosen number. If you make it, you look at you look at a number of cards from your deck equal to the chosen number. You choose any one of them, put it in your hand, and you return the remaining cards to your deck in the same order. So I had this card in my Princess Eliza deck, and with her, she generally can't reliably pick a number greater than maybe 5, which is still pretty good. That's basically another Tauren right there. But with a Magicbane, if Shadow is going off and you haven't failed yet, you can name your entire deck and you can't fail it because it fails, which causes it to succeed. So you just grab any one card you want. This is awesome. It's very funny. And I believe that is him on the front of it. So as far as a little bit more support for the Sir James Reeds, we got 3 copies of Dirge of the Dead and 3 copies of Sacrifice. Dirge of the Dead just keeps him alive after he's been hit. He does die at the end of the turn, but if you have a way to ready him a bunch of times, that could be really, he could stick around long enough to make that worthwhile. Sacrifice is very similar. You can use this. The Shadows can play this. The Raffkins can play this. And this is just kind of extra ways of keeping him alive a little bit longer. You can actually replace these with Final Blessing, which, largely speaking, if they're focusing on Magicbane, or not Magicbane, sorry, although yeah, Magicbane. If they're focusing on a read, you know, his ability to cause them to fail is good, but if they're focused, they're gonna get him eventually. So the sacrifice, generally speaking, will not keep him alive past the turn. I don't think it's happened too often. And if that's the kind of effect you're going for, basically just a quasi hit point for the turn. Final Blessing also has its react to give him the extra hit point, which is largely what Sacrifice is doing. But it also has the discard pile, the retrieval hate, which can be pretty nice. I just prefer these for right now because the Ada can play this, and in some games, it really random. If you want that extra skill in your discard pile, this can be a way to kill her off if they're not willing to do it for you. So, and then we've got a couple toys for Sir James. Now, the one that I think, I don't even know if I'd say this one is the best. This is the one that's low enough level that he can equip this in rank 1, and that is Hero's Blade. Hero's Blade is a very odd weapon. Again, I'm assuming, yep, Eye of the Storm, the critical set. Once per game after he rolls the character with this rolls a critical success, the Hero's Blade permanently gets +6 attack, which, yeah, it's not bad, but, and the text, this character's melee strikes are critical successes on a 15 or greater, meaning once Reed has this, he hits you just by default of how these cards interact with each other on 1 through 10 and 15 through 20. So basically, unless he rolls an 11, 12, 13, or 14, he hits you. And he might still hit you, especially if this thing is going off, just by virtue of his attack stat. So, that is really, really good, I think. The thing is, I would much rather have copies of Rapier and or Havadion Stance, because these are giving him extra strikes, and the Hero's Blade, maybe I just have selective memory. I don't really remember too many times where that extra critical ranking, I guess, what he needs to roll to score crits. It hasn't been super relevant. I'm not saying that it won't be, and again, our playgroup is really casual, so it's possible that is actually a big deal elsewhere, but Rapier gives you an extra wound. You would probably need to remove the Sir Thomases if you were going to run more than one of these. Havadion, or not an extra strike. Havadion Stance gives you an extra strike. I would really like these to be 2 of each of them, but Reed can't equip these in rank 1, at least not in this version of the deck, so that's pretty much what we're doing with him. It's very goofy, and it does work a lot of the time, though. Like, especially if you're up against somebody who doesn't have a large amount of swings or a large amount of, damage generation, but it's quality damage generation. Reed, I think, has done very, very well in those scenarios. Had him run into a freaking group of dragons one time. They did not have the volume strikes necessary to get past his abilities. I think they killed him eventually, but it was a good time. Historically speaking, I haven't been playing this version with the Sir James Reeds for all that long. What I was doing, I guess almost historically speaking, as soon as this card came out, as soon as Churning Wrath came out, I really like this with Raylor, because Raylor is a rogue, and you can Churning Wrath with an Assassin's Arrow, and the first couple times I played this just blindsided my opponents. They were like, huh, I didn't know you were going to have range strikes in that deck. And it's like, it's the only one, but, an auto-hitting or critically succeeding range strike for 3 wounds. I mean, it started to have less effect because again, my play group is really small. As they started to realize, you don't become Spenter on Raylor because Zach's going to shoot you. But I think it's still definitely viable. Again, you can change your startup, you can add some steeds and play Borg Ferris, and you can also run Jas and Fret, and between those, it's really easy to get Reed up to the front quickly. Yeah. The other thing you can do too is, I'm running By Your Word right now, but you can kind of change your character selection up a little bit, and you can run some extra bards. You can run Foul of Mighty Heart, Marius Dela, and I think it's Deuce and Drake was the other one. You can run some extra bards and play Spirit Singing instead. That way they can help him in case he has something he needs to be spending to do. Foul of Mighty Heart in particular, this character, I'm actually I'm a really big fan of her. Not because her ability is good, it's the fact that she has the ability and what it sometimes has caused people to do. She's a bard, she's level 3. She spends and targets a player, and they have to select one of their ready characters, and that character becomes spent. Now, again, most of the time you don't want to get spent around rogues. She only affects one character with this, but if they were, for instance, going all out and The only thing that's not spending is the thing you really want to kill, like their Warlord. She can spend it, and because people know about that, even without using her ability, she tends to cause people to keep two characters ready. Maybe not at all times, but it makes them really not want to have, more than or less than two characters. That way, I can't spend the important one. So just by virtue of her existing, like, yeah, it's very silly, but I found that's kind of cool. And then Marius Dela, he just, you can toss a card to give a character a bunch of different feats. What doesn't he give? I think it's power. No, power attack's there. Stealth. He doesn't give stealth. And I guess he wouldn't give any of the new 4th edition feats either. But using that to get medicine can be kind of nice. And using it to get magic resistance and putting that on Sir James, just in case they're going to start throwing spells at him. Or spells that require save DCs. Even with the +4 skill, he's still a 3rd level fighter. His skill is not very good. Rounding it out, another character that I was running, actually I think I was running this instead of Mr. James Reed's for a very long time, is Shiok Addo. This guy sucks a lot. Like, this guy's terrible. He's just really funny, though. He's a classless character. He's got 3+1 melee strikes, 10 armor class, which, that's awful. It is a lot of strikes. 3 is pretty nice. He's a mentalist, doesn't matter. If your Warlord is free kingdoms, perform a teleportation check. I don't know if any other card asks for teleportation checks, but it's DC 15, and his skill is +4, so he needs an 11 or better. If successful, move Chiok forward any number of ranks. Otherwise, he is killed. He only has 1 hit point, so he usually doesn't last very long on the front lines anyway. But with Magicbane, what he does with Magicbane is it kind of messes with the dice curve here. Instead of him needing an 11, he only needs to roll a 7. But if he rolls a 1, he auto succeeds. So again, just the threshold of numbers he's allowed to roll is greatly expanded. Not very good, but it was kind of funny to get those 3+1s. I think back then I was running Driga too, so they weren't +1s. But and the other card, this one, again, I was playing this for a while. I dropped it because it wasn't consistent enough. But very odd. The card is leveled. I love this card. I don't play it in too many things, but this card is such an iconic. In my opinion, this is this and me at the end of the 2 most iconic cards in Warlord. So, leveled is just after you kill another character, another player's character. Actually, I should probably have the latest printing. Basically, you kill one of their guys, and they permanently get +1 level, +3 attack, +3 armor class, +1 hit point, and +2 skill. Literally, it's like gaining a level in Dungeons and Dragons. The reason why this was really nice with him was it fixes several different things for him. This probably goes without saying, but it makes him level 4, and all those items I was talking about liking more than the Hero's Blade. This lets him equip it in rank 1. The extra armor class, yes, that does help. The +1 hit point, generally speaking, I think helps more. The reason I stopped playing this was because there weren't enough targets for this. I kept having games where, what was her name? I want to say not Ziatha. The Merc that can start in level 1s, because one of my friends, he's really big on her, and it was just like there weren't enough triggers for the level to happen. And I can play it on the Ada or the Kyla Smith, but it's not the same. It was in there for Sir James, and just too many times I'm like, I have 3 of these, and I drew 2 of them, turn 1, and I literally can't play them. The only legal target is his Warlord, so they just sit in my hand for the turn. They clog things up. So I like the idea of it. Just with my meta, there's not enough targets for it. So that is Raylor Magicbane right there. Very, very goofy, very silly. I think he can be really good. Again, there's probably better ways to play him. This is our meta, and this is this is the kitchen table beer and pretzels Warlord that I love. So thanks for checking this out, guys. God bless you, and I'll catch you in the next video.